Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna. This is episode number 306 of this icy yet spicy podcast that brings you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. In this episode, we are here to once again round out my team, the San Francisco 49ers, and the past week that has happened for them in the upcoming weekend. This next week that is to come for them in week number 13. And obviously, like I said, to look back at the last week that was in week number 12. And oh boy, it was not exactly a good week for them, even though certain things happened for them in a somewhat positive way, but not in the best ways that you can imagine. Still, we're here to talk about that here in our weekly roundup, our week in review for my San Francisco 49ers, my team, here in this episode. Before we get started, make sure to follow Very Cold Lasagna on social media at Very Cold Lasagna. For all my audio listeners out there, make sure you rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to smash the subscribe button. And if you're not subscribed, what the heck are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below. So you can get in on the conversation, leave me your opinions, your hot takes, all the good stuff about the topic at hand. That is my San Francisco 49ers and how they did, or how you thought they didn't do this past week in week 12, and hopefully how they will do this upcoming week, this weekend in their week 13 matchup. And as always, share this with your friends, share this with your neighbors, share this with whoever's around you, whether it's a colleague or someone on the street. About the good, the bad, the ugly about this casual podcast entitled Very Cold Lasagna. So that being said, let's get into the past week on the red and gold for my San Francisco 49ers as they went into a kind of essential matchup between them and the Carolina Panthers on the Monday Night Football to close out week number 12. Yes, Monday under the bright lights of Monday night, because we all say here on Very Cold Lasagna as of late, F Monday Night Raw, because we rather watch Monday Night Football. So yeah, the 49ers took on the Carolina Panthers in a kind of big game for both teams. For my San Francisco 49ers, they're in the somehow for as beaten up as they are with all the with injury mania running wild, especially on the defensive side of the ball. No Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner, no Mykel Williams. So essentially no pass rush, as to say the least. They are somehow in the playoff race. They are somehow in the playoff race. They were the 7th seed in the NFC wildcard race, and they were looking to maintain that spot and maybe even go up further in the playoff race going into this past Monday night game. And they needed that with the win. Meanwhile, for the Carolina Panthers going into this one, you win this game, you get sole possession of the NFC South, given that the night prior, the Tampa Bay Bucks lost very badly to the LA Rams on Sunday Night Football. So this was a game that, well, the Panthers, whether the Bucks won or lost this that game against the Rams, they need to put on a good showing. Especially given last week, the week prior against the Atlanta Falcons, Bryce Young put on one of his best, if not his best, good performance of his career in that game. Yeah, put on whatever you want to say about the stats. He looked really impressive in that game. Very impressive in that game. I'm not sure where I was going with that one, but lost my train of thought. But I digress. Yeah. He needs to follow up with another good performance in that one. And this is the time to do it under the bright lights with the national wide audience looking at Bryce Young and his every move, as well as the overall Panthers team, if they wanted to, stay in the hunt for at least the NFC South. So this is the time to do that. So let's get into this game. Let's talk about this game in particular, starting with the Panther side of things. So defensively, even though they allowed an opening drive touchdown to the 49ers, and yeah, that was some pretty weird blocking, pretty bad tackling on that touchdown to Juwan Jennings. Like, it's just like they gave up tackling him in that touchdown that they gave up. And they also battled their old teammate, Christian McCaffrey. They let him have his way for a big night. This usually bad Panthers defense that essentially has no pass rush, and they only have 2 good corners in the secondary. They somewhat did their job. They somewhat did a good job in notching 3 turnovers off of Brock Purdy. J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, the 2 corners that I was just talking about, they once again showed why they are carrying that defense. JC perfectly reading Purdy's bad beats. He got 2 interceptions on Purdy, one in the end zone and another on a perfectly timed ball. He undercut Purdy right well in the dead of the right. And, well, if he not got pushed towards the sideline, could have had a pick 6 too. That could have completely shifted the game. So, yeah, in the blink of an eye, this all happened I believe in the second quarter alone, from my understanding. Yeah, this all happened in the second quarter alone. But the problem was, for as good as this defense was doing, surprisingly, the offense, especially in the biggest game of his career, Bryce Young couldn't hold up his end of the bargain. And that's unfortunate. Sure, there were some bright spots, like the touchdown pass to Tario McMillan. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce that correctly. Teritoya McMillan. That was a guy to watch in this game. He had a touchdown. He had a lob pass from Bryce Young in busted coverage. I believe it's in the second or third quarter. But he missed on the follow-up 2-point conversion after a penalty gave him that opportunity. In what was a night of mistakes and so many missed opportunities for Carolina and Bryce Young. So yeah, there are so many missed opportunities for this team to really, try to make a statement, try to, do so many things that I just mentioned. They got to put their stamp on the division, on that weak NFC South division, especially on a Tampa Bay Bucks team that was so beaten up right now. And yet they couldn't take advantage of also beating up 49ers team. So after the first interception, Bryce Young drove the offense close to scoring range, but a potential touchdown drive ended in an interception that was also thrown by Bryce Young in the end zone to Jair Brown. So, yeah, we essentially regressed back to where we were earlier in the season with Bryce Young. So, yeah, essentially we're at the point where we don't know which Bryce Young we're going to get. You might get the one we saw last week in Atlanta, and you're going to get the one where we got this past week with Bryce Young. Very inconsistent, and you don't want that in your quarterback. So Bryce Young and the Panthers could only muster a field goal after Brock Purdy threw his third and final pick of the game in the second quarter, and that was pretty much that for Carolina. Yeah, it was extremely disappointing for Bryce Young to follow up his Week 11 performance with whatever this was. I'll give him a very little bit of flack on this one. The rest of the offense didn't do him any favors either. The running game was almost non-existent. Rico Dowdle, I thought he was going to have a big game because he's like the primary back. He was one that often slices and dices the run defenses, but he barely did anything in this game. And so did former starting running back Chuba Hubbard. He didn't do anything either. And it also didn't help that Dave Canales shifted away from the rushing attack, even if they were non-factors. And you also had Teritoya McMillan and a bunch of other receivers dropping open passes from Bryce Young. And then late in the game, when they were trying to make it a one-score game, Dave Canales sent Ryan Fitzgerald out there to attempt the field goal. And then he missed the field goal. So that was pretty much that. And the injuries didn't help either. They lost J.C. Horn to a concussion. So there goes your best defender, and their backup corner, Corey Thorne, to an ankle injury. And that eventually allowed the 49ers to pull away from this one and somewhat let Purdy get a little right, even though Purdy didn't really do all that much after the third pick. So all in all, this is a disappointing follow-up for a Panthers team that could have taken sole possession of the NFC South, had the offense take advantage of Purdy's ugly night. Like this was a little bit inexcusable for a team coming off one of their best performances of the season by far. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, looking at it from their perspective, just when you thought Brock Purdy was going to have a good game against an equally bad Panthers defense, coming off a game against Arizona last week in his return game, in his so-called homecoming, he lays an absolute egg. He lays an absolute egg off the opening drive touchdown with 3 straight interceptions, 3 straight intercepting drives to close out the first half. Like, my lordy lord. Like, and you look at those 3 interceptions, and none of them were good. Like, a lot of it, all 3 of them were his fault. So, because when you look at how Brock Purdy played in this game, it was one thing to push the ball downfield, which I have no problem with. I have no problem with Brock Purdy pushing the ball downfield, getting aggressive. I have no problem with that in spurts. But it's what I touched on last week when he returned. He's pushing the ball downfield into very questionable, turnover-worthy territory. His throws were either behind the receiver, underthrown, or some other kind of method that kind of like the third interception by J.C. Horn, just perfectly undercut, including the first pick, all of which the case were from J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. So when you look at how the second half turned out, I mean, just look at how Kyle Shanahan called that second half. It felt very familiar. It felt very similar to a certain NFC Championship game from 6 years ago. Oh yeah, remember when Raheem Mostert got, like, how many touchdowns was that? He got most of the all the touchdowns in that game. And how many times did Jimmy Garoppolo throw for? Yeah, he threw for that much. And yeah, in this case, Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. got more work than usual. So hopefully Brock Purdy got some a bunch of ham, some more Toyota Corollas or whatever, Toyota like pickup trucks to both Christian McCaffrey and his defense, because yeah, Christian McCaffrey was on a mission like a super technician against his former team, playing against them for the first time since being traded by them 3 years ago. And while he didn't have too many highlight plays in this one, but he did have a kind of big night, eclipsing 100 total yards. But when you look at it on the film, he got the necessary plays to lead the Niners downfield, get the conversions, and he had the go-ahead touchdown in the third quarter to slowly put the game away for San Francisco. Meanwhile, a young defense, which I've called out a lot for bad reasons, and they still have a lot of their flaws. They surprisingly did very solid in this one. Sure, they still missed plenty of tackles, and they barely got to Bryce Young, other than 1 sack by Clinton Farrell in the final minutes of the game. But they still prevented him and his team from making it any more of a game. They've only held them to 9 points, a field goal and a touchdown. That was it. And I got to give this guy credit. Jair Brown, for as much flack, or as much as I've called him that he sucks, he has surprisingly stepped up his game lately. And this one, he made the 2 big plays of the game. Picking off picking off himself? No, that's not possible. But anyway, he made the 2 big plays of this Monday night game, intercepting Bryce Young in the end zone, and then making the key interception late in the fourth quarter to pretty much wipe the game away. And yeah, the Niners won this one 20-9. So to wrap up my thoughts on this game for the 49ers and the Panthers, looking at it for the Panther side of things, like I said, when I talked about it from their perspective, in an important game for them where had they won this game, they would have taken control of the NFC South and sole possession of it, especially after the previous day where the Bucs convincingly lost to the LA Rams under the bright lights of Sunday night. But under the bright lights of Monday night, the Panthers equally disappointed offensively. The defense, notably J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, gave them 3 golden chances to turn Brock Purdy's turnovers into points. But all Bryce Young in the offense could show for it was just 3. And they mostly fell flat in this game. Yeah. Sure, you could say they tried. You could say they tried to get back in it besides those 3 points. But they failed on the 2-point try. And Bryce Young got intercepted in the end zone. And he also got intercepted towards the end of the game. And don't forget about Ryan Fitzgerald's key extra point that was missed late in the game. So, yeah, not exactly a good performance by the Panthers. And not a lot of turnaround time for them either, because they're going to be facing an even taller task in the NFC, leading red-hot LA Rams at home. Yeah, and an even worse matchup for them coming up before their bye week after that. But the silver lining is, at least for the Panthers, is that they faced the Bucs twice in their final 4 games coming off the bye, which could probably decide the NFC South. So it's not a total loss right now for the Carolina Panthers, but Bryce Young and that offense has to play a lot better if they want to overtake a beaten up Tampa Bay team that also includes Baker Mayfield. Meanwhile, for my San Francisco 49ers, God, I'd say in a win, this was just a chore. Like, this was just as ugly of a chore of a game to get through from both a team and a fan perspective. Sure, some people will say a win is a win and all that stuff, but God, like, this is probably a big of a chore to get through since like week 3. Week 3 game against Arizona, like, this was a big slog to get through. Purdy played a really bad game, but I'll give the defense this. They played probably perhaps one of their better performances, and this was without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And offensively, Christian McCaffrey obviously carried the load, and he got his payback on his old team. So, yeah, overall, not a great performance from this team outside of the defense and Christian McCaffrey. But, yeah, everyone else, not so much. But, hey, they're 8-3. They're somehow in the playoff hunt. But, yeah, when you look at their next game, they also don't have they don't have much of a quick turnaround either. They got a next head out east to Cleveland, where they had plenty of trouble beating this team that they're gonna have to face next. Yeah, they're gonna have to play the Cleveland Browns, the Skid Marks, down in Cleveland. And yeah, both Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and that entire team have had a lot of trouble beating Cleveland there, especially for as their record stands. Like, regardless of the record, they're facing a much more daunting front with Myles Garrett, Shelby Harris, Malik Collins, Mason Graham, and a bunch more in that defensive line depth. Yeah, good luck with that. But hell, you never know what could happen on a Sunday. But yeah, the Niners will just have to get through this game before they head on to their long overdue bye week. So now let's look ahead to their very upcoming Week 13 matchup against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. So when you look at how the Cleveland Browns did so far, obviously it's not great. It's a typical skid marks worthy season. They're currently sitting at 3-8, or 3-9, or 4-7, or I don't know what the record is. 3-8. I think that's what I remember correctly. 3-8. The skid marks are 3-8. They have shifted away from Joe Flacco. They first started off with Joe Flacco, but they traded away Joe Flacco, and then they moved on to Dylan Gabriel, who started out several games before he got concussed. And then now the baton has been shifted over to the so controversial fourth round pick, Shedeur Sanders, who had made the waves back in the draft process for various reasons, for the wrong reasons. So, yeah, the guy that got dropped all the way down to the fourth round before getting picked by the skid marks. He made his first start in the NFL last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. And while the headlines were about him in that game, running back Quinshon Judkins stole the spotlight from him with 2 Wildcat touchdowns early in that game to put the Raiders away 24-10. Also with an assist from that really good front of the skid marks defense. So, yeah, despite their 3-8 record, yeah, don't overlook this skid marks team if you're the 49ers. Then going into this game for the 49ers, the weather is not looking very pretty as we speak, whether it's for the 49ers or the skid marks, but the clear disadvantage is for the 49ers because there's a very high chance of rain as we speak right now, as I'm recording this in Cleveland. And what I remember correctly, when I looked at the weather forecast, there might be some snow too. I don't know. Someone can correct me on that. So either way, it's not looking good for San Francisco right now. So that's going to give them a major disadvantage. But again, it also shouldn't serve as an excuse either. So they got to be all well prepared for this game. So some players to watch for both teams for my San Francisco 49ers. It's got to be that defense once again. And I'm not just talking about a singular player, but that entire defense. Robert Saleh's youngsters in the Monday night game and last week against Arizona's depleted team. They've done solid. Again, granted, it was against a depleted Cardinals team and Bryce Young. But they face a wild card. They face an X factor in Shedeur Sanders, who will be making just his second start in the NFL. And they'll be facing a tough running back in Quinshon Judkins. And don't forget, they also have David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy as well. So, yeah, this young defense can't overlook Shedeur. And as the weeks go on, they're still getting this amount of experience, but they're also relatively still inexperienced. And then you also have the entire offensive line. Yes, that good old offensive line. Now, look, for as bad as the skid marks are offensively, the defense is not a joke. Yeah, that defense is no joke, especially when you get to the quarterback. Myles Garrett, especially, he has been on a tear this year. He is in the front running for Defensive Player of the Year with this otherworldly, quick presence to the quarterback, and I believe he's near like the 20 sack mark, like very soon. And the rest of the front four, they follow suit with his energy, with his urgency to get to the quarterback. And when you look at the state of this 49ers offensive line, especially with I don't know who Myles Garrett's going to line up with, as my phone lines alarms for some reason. But anyway, that's probably telling me that, maybe something is going on with Myles Garrett and Cole McCaffrey. But anyway, maybe that's who Myles Garrett's going to go up against. All I can say is, yeah, it's an alarm telling me, and to the Niners, good luck against that skid marks defensive line. And then a bonus one is Brock Purdy. The last time he played in Cleveland in 2023, he did not play well. He did not play well in that game. He was pretty much silent in the second half by severely getting flustered by the skid marks front four. And he threw 2 poor interceptions, although he did throw a clutch ball to, I'm not sure if it's Debo or Ayuk in that one. But although Jake Moody missed the fucking field goal in that game to win it. But yeah, that happened. So anyway, coming off a 3-pick game this past week that came in the second quarter alone, he needs to have a much better game against a much better defense in the skid marks, regardless of their record. So yeah, Brock Purdy's got to do a whole lot better in this game against a much better defense. So meanwhile, on the Browns side of things, obviously, as I talked about before, you have the Myles Garrett and the Browns defense. They have been the lone highlight of this year, the lone positive, which they have sacked Geno Smith to the Raiders' own black hole. And how many times did they do that? a whopping 10 times last week. And, you got to give it to the Browns. They severely limit opposing offenses with its front seven. Heck, they even do a decent job against playoff contenders too. Like, even for as bad as their offense is, they do a somewhat good job against potential playoff contenders. Like, look how much they stayed in it against the Patriots for a little while, a couple weeks back. So Myles Garrett, like I said, he's on his way to potentially winning the Defensive Player of the Year award. And when you look at this crappy 49ers offensive line, this unit and Garrett will have fun in feasting on them in potentially post Thanksgiving feast and getting to Brock Purdy in a flash like they did in 2023. And then, like I said, the wild card is Shedeur Sanders. He played okay last week in his first start, airmailing some throws, also making a couple of the key ones at the same time, including a swing pass to Dylan Sampson for the game-deciding touchdown. He also could have had a second touchdown, which was a nice one to Jerry Jeudy, but Jerry Jeudy stupidly did a high step and then had the ball punched out from behind by I forgot the safety's name, and then that led to a fumble. So Kevin Stefanski made the decision to make Shedeur the starter again for this game, and we'll get to see how he'll fare with another week's worth of reps with the first team and against a depleted front seven in the 49ers. So looking at the injury report going into this game for my San Francisco 49ers, so looking at some of the actual injuries on this team. So the practice windows to return for both Yetur Gross-Matos and Jacob Cowing. Kyle Shanahan mentioned that it may open after the bye week after this game. So you'll see. Hopefully, the more bodies, the better at this point, because for how beaten up this team is. Sam Okwuonko, one of the edge rushers, is going to miss this game and more possibly. And after getting a high ankle sprain in the last game against Carolina. But someone that will return for this game in the pass rushing rotation is Robert Beal Jr. He cleared the concussion protocol because after not playing in this last game. Otherwise, it's been pretty much more of the same on the injury front, but not in the good way. The good news is, though, Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall continue to fully practice going into the last game and going to this game before the bye week. So, yeah, hopefully Ricky Pearsall continues to get more integrated into this offense because he's been a non-factor in these last two games. For the Browns, standout corner Denzel Ward, he hasn't been practicing due to a migraine from my last time I checked. But if he is good to go, then that'll be great for the Browns defense. But if he's not, that's a kind of a big to mild concern for them because he's one of their standout corners, and that'll leave a little bit of a gap, a little bit of an opening for Purdy. Granted, he gets time to throw. And then Dylan Gabriel, the backup quarterback now. He cleared concussion protocol, but as I mentioned, Kevin Stefanski has already made Shedeur the starter for this game. But, never know in the event that something happens, Dylan Gabriel is there to go. Both corner Tyson Campbell and tight end David Njoku were limited in practice, but they should be good to play as long as they're there participating in practice and there's no setbacks. So now looking at the keys to victory for both of these teams, for the 49ers, you just got to get on your knees. No, I'm not going to say that next part. And pray. You got to pray and find some hope in slowing down the entire skid marks defense, especially Myles Garrett. If he goes up against if Myles Garrett goes up against Colton McKivitz, then this 49ers, no, regardless of whoever goes up against Myles Garrett, they're fucked anyway. They're going to get fucked. So this 49ers offensive line, they just got to pray. They just got to pray that they slow down the entire skid marks defensive line and don't commit any penalties. Don't do anything stupid. No face mask penalties. Just try to at least give Brock Purdy some time to throw the damn ball. And speaking of Brock Purdy, if your offensive line is not going to do jack shit in protecting you, then you got to find a way to either get out of the pocket or dump the ball out very fast, but obviously also smartly. Because that front seven, that front four of the Browns pass rush, it's going to come at you very fast, especially now that this offensive line is a little bit older now. Since the last time you played Cleveland, Brock Purdy's got to dump that ball out very fast. And hell, I'll give you a bonus pointer. They may not even be able to run the ball. And that might force Brock Purdy's hand even more. Meanwhile, for the skid marks, the Browns. This is Shedeur Sanders' second start. Don't overthink things with Shedeur. He still has his negatives, so try to focus on his strengths. He can scramble. He can make some big throws, but just try to continue to simplify things in his second start. Keep it simple, stupid. As some people like to say, the KISS method. And then defensively, Myles Garrett just continuing to go on a tear. And especially if you want to make things really interesting, if you really want to have a field day, line up Myles Garrett against Colin McKiffit. Yeah, that'll sure the Niners get off the field quickly if you're the skid marks. Line up Myles Garrett against the shitty Colin McKiffits. So yeah, this is gonna be I don't know if I'd say an interesting game, but a game that the 49ers will have to survive. And yeah, don't overlook the skid marks for their 3-8 record, and because of their defense. Like, sure, their offense has their own flaws too, and they also have the wild card in Shedeur Sanders. You don't know how he's gonna do, but don't overlook the defense like they did in 2023. Like, they have to consider that defense that has been the one lone positive of their very crappy 2025 season. So for the 49ers, coming off a short week on a very ugly Monday Night Football win where Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions, he's got to do better. I said it before and I'll say it again. He's got to do better. And they just got to hopefully survive out a win going into their long overdue bye week. That's all I asked for on this Thanksgiving weekend. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on this upcoming game between my San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns, their final game before their bye week, finally. And let me know your final thoughts on the 49ers win over the Carolina Panthers this past week in week number 12. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I've been your host, Dylan Lasagna, once again, bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports for you sports fans out there like you and me. And yeah, this is a wrap on our week in review for my San Francisco 49ers. And yeah, we will be back in the next Red and Gold weekly roundup to look back at the 49ers week 13 matchup against the Browns, aka the skid marks. But until that next time comes, peace out.